There are times in life when everything seems to fall apart. People you loved let you down. Situations you thought were secure crumble. And in the midst of it all, you're just trying not to lose your calm. But there's something no one ever told you, something that Carl Jung understood deeply. Calm isn't something you find on the outside. It is an inner achievement, a silent transformation that happens when you understand what dwells within you. This is a truth that few dare to face, because keeping your calm isn't about smiling while everything around you is on fire. It's about understanding why you are burning on the inside. Many people live by reacting to the words of others, to a certain glance, to indifference, to rejection, as if they were puppets of someone else's emotions, not realizing that deep down they are trying to control the uncontrollable. But Jung tells us that true power lies not in controlling the external, but in integrating what we hide internally. And this is where the transformation begins. Today, I will reveal 15 powerful lessons based on the profound ideas of Carl Jung so that you never again lose your center over anything or anyone. These are lessons that will not only give you clarity, but will make you strong on the inside, unshakable. And if you've ever been made to feel weak, emotional, or overly sensitive, this message is especially for you. Prepare yourself, because once you understand this, you will never be the same. Let's begin with the first lesson. Lesson 1. Everything that irritates you about others is a reflection of yourself. This idea might hurt, but it can also set you free. When something about another person deeply bothers you, when you can't stand certain attitudes, what's really happening is that you are seeing a reflection of your own shadow. Jung called the shadow that part of ourselves that we deny, reject, or hide. That part we believe isn't us, but which screams from the depths, waiting to be acknowledged. For example, if someone's arrogance bothers you, ask yourself, at what point was I also arrogant and refused to see it? Or perhaps it bothers me because I wish I had that level of confidence and don't allow myself to. Calm begins when you stop blaming others for what you feel and start observing yourself with honesty. Yes, sometimes seeing ourselves clearly hurts, but it is the only path to true transformation. Lesson 2. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. This is one of Jung's most powerful phrases, and it can change the way you see everything. Did you know that many of your decisions, reactions, and thoughts are not as free as you think? They are programmed by old wounds, traumas, and beliefs that you never questioned. And the most dangerous part is that we believe that's just how life is. But it's not life. It's the unconscious directing the play while you merely act out the role. When you make the unconscious conscious, you regain control. You begin to choose, to decide with clarity, to say no without guilt, to recognize when you are repeating patterns. This isn't about empty positivity. It's about deep knowledge, about knowing that if you feel anxious today, it might be the voice of an untended wound, knowing that if you feel chaotic today, perhaps there's a part of you that was silenced for years and is now asking to be heard. Do not ignore that voice. Observe it, question it, listen to it. Your calm begins in that act of courage. Lesson 3. What you deny submits you. What you accept transforms you. Think about this. Everything you resist feeling ends up ruling your life. The pain you repress, the sadness you hide, the anger you deny, none of it disappears. It accumulates, manifesting in your body, in your relationships, in the way you talk to yourself. To accept is not to surrender. To accept is to look it straight in the eye. To accept is to say, yes, this hurts me, but I will no longer hide it. And when you do that, something incredible happens. What once dominated you begins to lose its power. Why? Because you are integrating it, you are understanding it, and when you understand, you stop reacting from fear and start responding from consciousness. Acceptance is one of the most powerful acts you can do for yourself, and that is where true peace begins. Lesson 4. Your calm does not depend on others. It depends on your emotional maturity. Have you ever felt that someone makes you lose your patience, that they provoke you, that they upset you, that they drive you crazy? Let me tell you something. That feeling is an illusion. No one has the power to pull you from your center unless you give it to them. And here is the key. When you hold others responsible for your emotions, you are giving away your power. But when you take emotional responsibility, you become free. Emotional maturity doesn't mean you don't feel. It means you choose how to respond to what you feel. It means you know that your emotions are yours, not the other person's. And when you do that, you no longer need others to change for you to feel at peace. Your peace comes from within, and that is freedom. Lesson 5. No one can emotionally harm you without your inner permission. This truth may be uncomfortable, but it can also be liberating. We live in a world where blaming the other person is the norm. He hurt me with his words. She abandoned me. He made me feel worthless. And yes, there are actions that cause pain, but what truly breaks you is the interpretation you make of those actions. It's the story you tell yourself. Jung would tell us, the other person is the trigger, not the cause. The cause is within you, in how you have been conditioned, in how much you have worked on your self-love. When someone insults you and you believe it, it's because deep down there was a part of you that already had doubts. When someone rejects you and you feel insufficient, it's because you were already carrying that wound. Remember this. Your pain is not because of what happens outside, but because of what you haven't healed inside. And true calm is built when you decide to observe those blind spots and not react from the wound, but from consciousness. Lesson 6. He who looks outside dreams. He who looks inside awakens. This is one of Jung's most potent phrases, and it holds immense wisdom. We live chasing external things, more money, more attention, more validation, believing that by achieving them, we will finally feel complete. But that external search is often just a distraction, a way to avoid looking inside. Because looking inside is painful. It requires courage. It confronts you with your truth. And yet, it is the only thing that truly transforms you. When you decide to look inward, something changes. You begin to understand your own voids and stop expecting others to fill them. You start to walk lighter, with less need for approval and more connection to yourself. And in that state, calm is no longer an effort. It is your natural state. Lesson 7. You cannot change what you do not acknowledge. Have you noticed how some people repeat the same mistakes over and over? They change partners, jobs, or cities, but always experience the same conflicts. This happens because they haven't recognized the origin of the problem. Jung spoke of self-deception, that unconscious tendency to hide what we don't want to accept about ourselves. And the worst part is, as long as you don't acknowledge it, you cannot transform it. If you don't acknowledge your fear of abandonment, you will continue to act from it. If you don't acknowledge your need for approval, you will continue to mold yourself to please others. That is why awareness is the door to freedom. Good intentions are not enough. It takes looking with honesty, without masks, without excuses. Only when you acknowledge your wound can you heal it. Only when you see your shadow can you integrate it. And only when you take responsibility does the real transformation begin. Lesson 8. Not all thoughts you have are your own. This concept is profound and revolutionary. Not all thoughts that appear in your mind come from you. Many are inherited ideas, social beliefs, voices of parents, teachers, culture, and media. Jung explained that we carry a collective unconscious, a kind of mental field where shared emotions, fears, and beliefs reside. And many times, we take those voices as our own. I must be successful to be worthy. I must not show my emotions. Being strong means not crying. Who told you that? Do you truly believe it, or did you absorb it without questioning? Calm is found when you learn to observe your thoughts without believing all of them. When you can say, "This thought appeared, but it does not define me. This fear is here, but I am not it." It's like watching the clouds pass by without clinging to them. You are present, awake, at peace. Learning to separate who you really are from what you were taught to be is one of the most liberating acts you can perform. We have covered 8 powerful and transformative lessons so far. Now I ask you a question. What if you started living each day from this new awareness? What if you gave yourself permission to be you, with your light and your shadow, without having to please everyone? When you do that, something magical happens. Your energy changes, your environment changes, your life changes, and that change starts with you. Lesson 9. Being conscious hurts, but it is the only thing that heals. Many believe that awakening is a pleasant experience, but the truth is that at first it hurts. Because when you open your eyes, you see everything you previously preferred to ignore. You see your unhealed wounds. You see how you allowed certain things out of fear. You see how you acted from a place of lack, not from love. And it hurts because you realize that in many moments it was you who abandoned yourself, who failed to set boundaries, who gave in out of fear, who pretended to be fine so as not to cause discomfort. But here lies the beauty. The pain of being conscious is the beginning of healing. Jung said that one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. That is the real work, to look at your most broken parts, to embrace them and say, "Now I see you. You are no longer alone." That is where true peace begins. Lesson 10. That which you judge most in others is teaching you something about yourself. Criticism is not always born from discernment. Often it is born from internal rejection. When you harshly judge someone for their way of life, for how they express themselves, for their choices. Ask yourself, what is this showing me about myself? Perhaps you are judging their freedom because you feel repressed. Perhaps their success bothers you because you haven't yet given yourself permission to shine. Or maybe you reject their vulnerability because you learned to hide your own. Jung put it clearly. Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. So, the next time something about another person bothers you, pause, observe, listen to what is stirring inside, because that reaction is not a coincidence. It is a clue. And when you learn to read those signals instead of judging, you grow. Lesson 11. Silence is not empty. It is full of answers. We live in a noisy era, an excess of stimuli, messages, social media, news, opinions, and amidst all this noise, we forget something essential: the power of silence. Silence is not absence. Silence is presence. In silence, you hear your inner voice, the one that doesn't shout, but has always been there, the one that knows what you need, what gives you peace, and what is harming you. Jung taught us that moments of solitude and reflection are not signs of weakness, but of deep connection. Many avoid being alone because they fear what they will feel in that space, but that is precisely the place where transformation occurs. Listen to yourself. Take moments of silence. Disconnect from the noise to reconnect with yourself. That is where true calm is born, not in the external, but in the intimate encounter with your soul. Lesson 12. You are not broken. You are in process. Perhaps you have been led to believe that you need to be fixed, that you are wrong, that you are no good, that something in you needs to be corrected. But Jung had a different perspective, a more compassionate and real one. He understood that a human being is not a damaged machine, but a soul in evolution. You are not broken. You are going through a process. You are learning to see yourself. You are healing, and healing is not a perfect path. Sometimes you take a step back. Sometimes you feel weak. Sometimes you doubt. But every step, even those that seem like mistakes, is bringing you closer to yourself. Calm arrives when you stop demanding perfection from yourself and start treating yourself with tenderness, with respect, with patience. Because self-love is not a destination, it is a daily habit, and you deserve to be treated with the same love you have given to others. Here we conclude lesson number 12. You are getting closer to understanding true calm. And if you are still reading this, it means that the spark of transformation has already ignited within you. Lesson 13. True freedom is not doing whatever you want, but not being a slave to your impulses. Many believe that freedom is doing whatever you feel like, saying what you want, reacting as you feel, shouting if you're angry, being silent if you don't care. But that is not freedom. That is being a hostage to your emotions. It's letting what you feel control what you do. Jung knew this. He understood that true growth doesn't happen when you do what you want, but when you learn to choose consciously, even if your impulse tells you otherwise. Freedom is feeling rage burn within you, yet still choosing silence. It is feeling attacked, yet not striking back, knowing you could cause harm, but choosing to heal. Because when you master your impulses, you become the master of yourself, And in that state, no one can take away your calm. Ask yourself, how many times have you acted on impulse and later regretted it? How many times have you acted from your wound and not from your essence? Every time you choose the pause before the reaction, you become stronger, wiser, and freer. Lesson 14. Calm is not weakness. It is the highest level of power. Society has taught us that being calm is being passive, that he who doesn't shout loses, that he who doesn't assert himself gets left behind, that strength is in a loud voice and a defiant gaze. But that is false. True strength lies in the person who does not need to shout to be respected, in the one who maintains composure when everyone else loses control, in the one who chooses serenity as a shield, not aggression as a sword. Look around you. Many project an image of security, but inside they are broken. Many raise their voices, but it's because they lack arguments. Many impose themselves because they don't know how to be heard from a place of truth. Jung taught that calm is not the absence of conflict, but the ability to maintain one's center in the midst of the storm. The next time someone provokes you, the next time they try to get under your skin, remember this. Being silent is not always yielding. Waiting is not always weakness. And maintaining your calm is often the greatest act of spiritual power. Lesson 15. You are not what happened to you. You are who you choose to be with what happened to you. This final lesson can change your story if you understand it with your soul. You are not your mistakes. You are not your wounds. You are not the abandonment, nor the rejection, nor the words that scarred you. You are much more than that. But to be able to live from that much more, you have to choose it. You have to let go of the victim story you repeat in your mind. You have to stop clinging to the "why did this happen to me?" and start asking, what am I going to do now with what happened to me? Jung said that the soul's main function is not to avoid pain, but to transform it. And you have the power to transform your story into wisdom, your wound into compassion, your sadness into depth. You don't need a perfect life to be at peace. You just need a new perspective, one that says, this hurt, but it no longer defines me. This broke me, but today I choose to rebuild myself differently. This was a part of me, but it is not who I am. That decision is what makes you the creator of your own calm. Even after 15 lessons, calm remains an art that is cultivated daily. Many look for a quick formula. Tell me how not to get angry. Tell me how to let go of what hurts. Tell me how to never feel anxious again. But the truth is this: there are no magic formulas. There is inner work, there is observation, there is presence. Calm is not a button you press. It is a practice you build with small decisions every day. When you choose not to respond from impulse, when you breathe before you speak, when you don't take everything personally, when you choose silence instead of feeding an argument, that is emotional mastery. That is the fruit of an awakened consciousness. And Jung knew it. We cannot eliminate our emotions, but we can learn to navigate with them without letting them sink us. Your shadow is not your enemy. It is your map to freedom. Let's talk more about something Jung explored with great clarity: the shadow. That part of you that you deny, hide, and repress. Perhaps it's your anger, your desire to control, your pride, your need for attention, your insecurity, your fear of loneliness. All of that, when not acknowledged, operates in silence. And when it operates in silence, it makes decisions for you. It chooses your relationships. It shapes your language. It makes you repeat patterns. Most people live fleeing from their shadow, but you are here because you decided to look inward, and that changes everything. Carl Jung didn't ask you to eliminate your shadow. He asked you to integrate it, to embrace it, to know it, and to understand that everything you have rejected about yourself is precisely what needs to be healed. When you integrate your shadow, you stop reacting from the wound and start acting from consciousness, from a more complete, more human, more real self. Pain is also part of the journey. Do not run from it. Listen to it. Sometimes we want to skip over the pain. We want to understand it quickly and move on, but pain is not a punishment. It is a messenger. It is telling you that something needs attention, that something has been ignored for too long, that something inside you is crying out to be seen. There is an unsaid phrase, a held-back tear, a denied need. And there, at that point, in that small emotional knot, lies the key. What would happen if, instead of avoiding the pain, you looked it in the eyes? What if, for once, you sat with it without trying to silence it? When you do that, something is released, not because the pain disappears, but because you change your relationship with it. And there, a silent transformation occurs, a transformation that is not visible to others, but that changes everything inside. Having peace doesn't mean everything is fine. It means you are fine with everything, even when it's not. Life is unpredictable. People leave, plans fall through, good and bad surprises arrive without warning. And how do you hold yourself steady in the midst of all that? The answer is not in control or perfection. It is in the deep acceptance of what is. Jung taught us that it is not about changing the external, but about changing our relationship with the external. You cannot prevent someone from criticizing you, but you can choose not to carry that criticism. You cannot avoid the uncertainty of the future, but you can walk with confidence within it. Calm is not having a perfect life. Calm is having a peaceful soul in the midst of an imperfect life. And now that you have come this far, I extend an invitation to you. Look at yourself with honesty. Where are you reacting on autopilot? To whom are you giving power over your internal state? What parts of yourself are you still ignoring? This is the moment to take a deep and real pause, not to think more, but to feel more, not to correct yourself, but to understand yourself. You don't need to change yourself. You need to listen to yourself, understand yourself, care for yourself. And from there will come a transformation that isn't noticeable on your social media, but is noticeable in your gaze, in your peace, in how you respond, in how you walk. True calm is not about controlling emotions, but about understanding them. From a young age, we were taught to behave, not to throw tantrums, not to get angry, not to show sadness, to be strong. But no one taught us to understand what we feel. We were taught to contain, but not to comprehend, to be silent, but not to process. And now, as adults, we walk around carrying undigested emotions. We say, "I'm fine," when inside we are broken. We smile on social media while screaming inside. Real calm is not repressing what you feel. It is understanding where it comes from. It is being able to say, I feel anger, and I understand why. I feel sadness, and I give myself permission to feel it without guilt. I feel fear, but it does not define me. When you understand your emotions, they do not control you. When you embrace them, they do not consume you. And when you express them with awareness, they liberate you. Your emotional energy affects everything you touch. This goes beyond the mind. It is vibration, it is energy. Every time you act from anger, that energy remains in what you do. Every time you speak from your wound, that vibration is transmitted to others. Every time you live from fear, everything becomes a threat. But when you act from a place of calm, everything changes. Your voice changes, your decisions change, your relationships are transformed. And that calm, which at first is an act of will, over time becomes your essence, your natural frequency, your base state. That is what Jung called individuation, being you, complete, integrated, present, without masks, without armor, without hidden fragments. You don't need everyone to like you. You need to respect yourself. This is one of the greatest thieves of calm, the desire to please. We live seeking approval, validation, a like, a glance, a round of applause, and in doing so, we lose our axis. To please everyone, you have to betray yourself. You have to be silent when you want to speak. You have to say yes when you feel a no. You have to feign peace when you are in chaos inside. But true peace arrives when you choose to respect yourself, even if it means making others uncomfortable. When you understand that whoever gets upset because you choose yourself didn't truly care for you, they only used you. You were not born to be a decoration for the gaze of others. You were born to be you, authentic, whole, and free. Calm is the language of an aligned soul. When you are at peace, you don't just feel it yourself. The person listening to you feels it. The person looking at you feels it. The person who crosses your path feels it, even if they don't know why. Peace radiates. It makes no noise, but it changes atmospheres. It doesn't need to be explained because it is felt. And that is your goal, not to become someone perfect, but to become someone at peace, with your lights and your shadows, with your successes and mistakes, with your complete story. And what if everything you've lived through until now was preparing you for this moment of awakening, for this opportunity to choose differently, to stop reacting and start responding, to let go of the need to be right and embrace the freedom of having peace. You will let others shout, let others control, let others manipulate. You are not here for that. You are here to live in calm, to walk from within, to build an inner world so steadfast that nothing and no one can tear it down. If this message touched your soul, it's because something inside you already knew all of this. You just needed to remember it. You did not come into this world to live with constant anxiety, nor to be at the mercy of what others do or say. You came to awaken, to integrate, to heal, to live from a center so powerful that it can sustain you even when everything else is shaking. Carl Jung showed you the map. Now, it is up to you to walk the path, and every step you take inward is a step toward freedom. If this reflection resonated with you, share it with someone you know who needs to hear it. Subscribe if you wish to continue delving deeper into this inner journey. And remember, you are not what they told you. You are not what you have lived through. You are what you choose to do with all of it. And if you choose calm, you have already chosen your true strength.